Wait, don't scroll. Let me tell you a story. A powerful story that gives me courage in life, that keeps me pushing forward, that gives me strength to finish whatever I start. A story that reminds me never to give up. So stay to the end. Long ago, in a certain village, about 85% of the people were known as gold diggers. Among them was a man named Eric, who lived with his wife and his son. In this village, before anyone could dig for gold, they had to buy a piece of land, unless they already owned one. Eric didn't have land, so he bought one. He built a fence around it and secured it as his own. The other villagers soon found small pieces of gold on their lands. Some became rich, building big houses and buying cars. But Eric's story was not the same. Since he bought his land, he found gold only twice, and both times it was just tiny pieces. Still, Eric never gave up. He didn't change his land. He kept digging every day, believing that one day he would find a huge piece of gold. But the gold never showed up. Years passed, and his son grew up and joined him. Together, they kept digging, but still, no gold. Soon, Eric became an old man. His strength for digging was gone. So, he handed the land to his son as a legacy. He told him, "My son, never give up on this land. Keep digging in the same place. Do not change it or replace it." His son agreed with his mouth, but in his heart, he thought differently. He said to himself, "This land that my father has been digging since his youth till old age, and he never found gold. He wants me to continue like that? God forbid." The boy had his own plan. Out of respect for his father, he pretended to follow his advice. But behind his father's back, he secretly swapped the land for a new one that nobody had ever dug on. He didn't tell his father, so Eric remained in darkness. But the new land was no better. Just like his father's land, he found nothing there. Each time he came home, he lied to his father, saying he was still working on the land. One day, something unbelievable happened. Eric was at home when news came over the radio. A huge gold discovery had just been made on his land. The very land he had spent his life digging. Eric was overjoyed. Tears filled his eyes. He said to himself, "I knew it. That's why I refused to change the land. I knew one day gold would be found there." But he didn't know that his son had already swapped the land. The treasure no longer belonged to them. When his son came home that day, he carried a small piece of gold he had dug from the new land. He smiled and shouted, "Father, Father, I found gold." Eric was so happy. "I know, my son. I already heard the news. Congratulations to us. This is why I told you never to change the land. I knew the biggest gold was there. Thank God we stayed faithful. Now our hard work is rewarded." But before he could finish, his son rushed and placed the tiny piece of gold on the table. "No, Father, I didn't find this on the old land. I thought so much about